Alright, so I'm back, and I know Minate's been anticipating this video for quite a while, ever since I thought it up actually, or rather he gave me the idea for it, but I'm now able to actually release it after my other video was a week late, so apologies for that, but my internet is pretty bad. But anyway, the video I've got for you today, I believe has quite a lot of potential, but I'll just have to see how it fans out. If you do like the video, do leave a like down below, but today's video is going to be on dares, so without further ado, let's get right into this. So as always, before we get into the video, if you are new, please do subscribe, it would mean a massive amount to me. Over the course of my last video, we did hit 50 subscribers, and I'm pretty sure that this time it's actually legitimate, so cheers for that. But if you could keep up that support and kind of level of growth, that would be awesome. I have, over the past few weeks, been contemplating doing some Black Ops 4 tutorials on zombies and that. But I don't really know if my current audience would want to see that, so if you do, leave a comment down below. I'm mainly doing it just because it would bring in a larger audience, but yeah. So on to today's video. So most of the time when you or your friends are bored in class and you've pretty much exhausted every other option, you'd usually turn to doing stuff like dares or games that involve dares. And this undoubtedly spices up what's happening at that precise moment in time. And personally, I play a lot of the games that sort of involve the dares in that because I just find it entertaining. And there's usually at least 4 of us that are doing them. And as I said, Minay just recommended that I do this video, so I thought, you know what, I'll do it. Because dares are a pretty big part of our school life. So yeah. But the first thing you're going to need to know about dares is that there are a lot of different premises that you could do them on. For example, you could have various different games that have a different reward or forfeit involving the dares. So things like TGF, where if you don't do the dare you'll literally just get frowned upon. Or stuff like Truth or Dare, where you've got to answer a truth if you don't do the dare. But there is one game in particular that me and, as Copley put it, Minay's band of troublemakers like to play the most. And to be honest, it's probably the most simple of them all. It's literally just straight up dares, but you get so many points depending on how difficult the dare is. And then by the end of the lesson or lunchtime or whatever, whoever has the most points wins. And I'm not gonna lie, Shay normally wins, but I think that's mainly because, frankly, he just has no moral boundaries. I think we're still yet to see a dare that Shay's turned down. And to be honest, most of the point of doing these dares is to pass the time. But with each game comes sort of like a level of respect that you get for people who do the more difficult dares. And in my opinion, I kind of think that's how people like Donald Trump got to power. You know, when they were in like year 9, year 10, they did one dare which was so unfathomably stupid that everybody who had ever heard of him instantly gave him much more respect. And now he's had America handed to him on a plate. And that is where I'm going to bring something new to this channel. And it might crop up in a couple of my videos as I feel it is very much needed. And this particular item is the Dumb-O-Meter. Very imaginative name, I know, but I feel that it truly reflects what it's about. But as you can see on screen now, the scale has 2 extreme ends, the least dumb being off-brand cereal, and the dumbest being Ethan. But for each of the dares, or sort of games, or whatever, they're each going to get a rank on the Dumb-O-Meter. And I think that would kind of give you a feel, even though you might not have seen it, of pretty much how stupid it was. But anyway, that's the Dumb-O-Meter. So the first dares game is one that's pretty well known, and that's of course TGF. Now in my opinion, TGF gets some of the most Ethan level dumb dares. But since the introduction of some of the other dares games, it's kind of become more of a theoretical thing than an actual dare that's been done. So the dares are completely stupid, but nobody ever actually does them. However, for a minute percentage of the population, TGF isn't a game. Literally, I'm pretty sure there are a few of us in my form alone that would not be able to not do a TGF. And surprise, surprise, Ethan is one of them. I mean, I'll do most TGFs up until the point where they're borderline illegal / racist, etc. So if you tell me to go and ask the Sandals doorman how much he gets paid, I'll do it. But if you told me to like eat a cake in front of 5 starving African children, no. I mean, Ethan would still do that, but not because he's thinking about how cruel it is, but mainly because he gets free cake. But, you know, the less said on that matter, the better. So the next game is another pretty standard one that people have played for years. You know, you used to play this in primary school as well as in secondary school. And that's of course Truth or Dare. But I've noticed that the switch from primary school Truth or Dare to secondary school Truth or Dare is pretty drastic. Because usually in primary school, obviously, it's a lot more light-hearted with just everything, truth and dare. But in secondary school, there is literally no chill. You will genuinely get abused if they find out anything in the truth, and the dares are just way worse, obviously. Also in primary school, there's a lot more freedom with truth or dare, because obviously in secondary school you got to make it more interesting, so there's a rule put in place, at least in our class, to prevent people being pussies, and it's that you can only do 2 truths in a row without having to do a dare. And I think it's got to the point now where it's actually reversed. I mean, it's no longer about doing the dares, people want dirt on everyone else. So now you can only do 5 dares without having to do a truth. But yeah, as I said, even in secondary school now, there's always at least one pussy who always picks truth. And that one coward in about 1922 made that rule put in place for everybody after him. And as somebody who doesn't usually pick truth because I feel like I'd let some information slip, it makes the game a lot more interesting, so it was a pretty good decision. But yeah, truth or dare isn't usually one of those games that's a classroom dares one. It's usually when you have a sleepover with your friends, or you outside in a tent. For example, a couple of us were around Ethan's house. Now, we're only in year 7, so the dares were much more to the off-brand cereal side of the Dumb-O-Meter. But these dares kind of included doing stuff like walking around the tent 3 times. Actually, most of the dares involve walking around the tent, doing or saying some weird shit. But yeah, that was mainly dares because, frankly, we didn't want to go to sleep yet. Because the 4 of us were rebels that could not be contained. And speaking of rebels that can't be contained, most of you all know that with games like that, there was always one person at least in the game that came up with the easiest dares. But this wasn't just because they were feeling like giving someone an easy dare, it was because they thought that that would be hard. So, for example, if he got a dare to, ask to go to the toilet when he didn't actually need it, he would get super gassed that he managed to do it. And to be honest, I can understand getting gassed over that, but not in year 9, more like in year 2. And even then, it's not really that hard of a dare. But I feel like at this point, I've kind of rinsed the shit out of truth or dare, so I'm just going to move on to the next one. So as I mentioned earlier, this game is one that's cropped up pretty recently. And I'm not going to lie, it is definitely my favourite game that involves doing dares. And this can range anywhere on the Dumb-O-Meter from off-brand cereal to Ethan. So the dares that give you 5 points are going to be much more to the Ethan side. But if you're in my form, which most of you probably are because I only have 50 subscribers, you'll have definitely seen a couple of us playing this. Especially in chemistry, and all the other subjects that we're definitely not taking for GCSE, or the ones that are compulsory. Me and Min, I found that out. But yeah, we've kind of played this quite a lot in the past half term or so, and to be honest, there have been some absolutely cracking dares. So in this video, I'm just going to mention a few of the best ones. So the first one happened in biology, and it was probably one of the more imaginative dares, and it involved a certain person fisting a skeleton. And there was actually another dare after that, which was he had to put his head inside the ribcage and hold most of that for 5 seconds. But that was one of the most wild lessons I think we've ever had. In the game, anyway. Because I think at one point I had to hump a table or something. But yeah. So this is quite a reoccurring one, and it can range from anything from bottles to pencils or pencil cases or anything like that. So usually you just get 3 points or 2 points for throwing someone's stuff across the classroom. And somehow the teachers don't pick up on it. Still not sure why, but... And on the side of throwing people's stuff, there's also another dare, which is you have to steal it without noticing first, which is usually entertaining to watch people try and sneak up to them for 5 minutes. But that's quite a common one, but if it's used in the right way, it can be one of the best ones. Now, when I say nicking people's phones, it's not just anybody. There are certain targets, I should say, that have their phones stolen quite often, but only because their reaction is way better than even stealing their phone. And I always look forward to getting these dares because, as anybody will know, I'm basically a master thief at this point. I've had, I think, 3 people say that I should be a thief when I'm older, and I'll take that as a compliment, because once I steal their phone, my octopus arms come out, and I usually weave it around them for another 5 minutes. But enough of me boosting my ego and on to the next one. Disgusting! So this dare is one that only I personally have had to do, and I've had to do it twice, and they were honestly one of the rankest experiences of my life. Because, you know, you don't like to touch other people's hair anyway, but this lanky-ass specimen's hair was the greasiest thing since Minnie's. And fair play, Minnie's hair isn't as greasy as it was anymore, but it still has enough grease to lubricate a car engine. But Ben's hair, the amount of grease on his head could lubricate 10 car engines, and I had to run my fingers through it for 5 seconds. his hair basically raped my hands. So again, this one's a pretty standard one, which occurs quite a lot of the time. And if it's in chemistry, it's not really a dare as much, it's just a competition. So like if you watched Dick and Dom back in the day, you'll know about their little game where they just shouted bogeys progressively louder and louder. And that is pretty much what this is, except instead of shouting bogeys, you have to shout uranium in an African accent. And honestly, I'm kind of noticing a pattern that it's the most simple ones that are the funniest. So the last one is one that doesn't really happen in school, but rather happens outside of school. And it involves walking into a shop and asking or buying something ridiculous. Like literally buying a one-piece suite. Not like 10 one-piece suites, literally just a singular one-piece suite. Which I did try to film in the top pocket of my blazer, but my blazer kind of filmed sideways instead. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter because that shop really likes me and Minnie, who were the ones that actually bought the one-piece suite. Because at least once a week, buy 4 mini bar drinks, which are 29p each, and you're probably wondering, why do you buy 4? And that, my friend, is because at this shop, there is a banging 4 for a quid deal. Anyway guys, that is pretty much it for today's video. If you did enjoy, leave a like, and if you are new, subscribe. Comment down below if you want to see me do a couple of Black Ops 4 tutorials. To be brutally honest, your opinion doesn't really matter, I'll probably do them anyway. But yeah, thanks for watching and peace.